The following discussion contains sensitive content regarding suicide and mental health. We want to acknowledge that this topic may be triggering for some listeners. If you or someone you know is struggling with thoughts of suicide, we encourage you to seek help immediately. Your well-being is important, and there are resources available to support you. The 988 Lifeline is available 24/7, 365, and your conversations are free and confidential. Call, text, or chat 988 Lifeline.
We don't love intros, so I'm just going to say it. It's Lauren Deletsky.
I'm Jackie Jamelis.
And welcome to the Click Clack Podcast. Okay, Jack, tell me, let's start with you. What is your airball of the week? Let's start with the bad first, and then go into the good, and we'll do your slam dunk.
I like that. So my airball for the week is I went grocery shopping yesterday. I had just came back from a trip, had no food, went to Safeway, got these like prepackaged sweet potatoes that you could like literally microwave. Admittedly, yes, like I'm lazy sometimes, so I just like to throw stuff in the microwave.
I so believe in that.
Okay, Carla hates it. She's like, we don't do that in this house, but she's not here right now. She's in Dubai. Shout out to her. So I'm microwaving my food.
I love that.
Opened the package and it was full of mold. And I was just like...
Did you take it back?
I haven't yet. And I sent a picture to my dad and he was like, go take it back. I'm like, Dad, no, I know you would, but like, I don't have the time to go take this fucking sweet potato back.
Mean. But like my mom would do this. She would literally get in the car and go back.
And this was right after another airball happened where my HOA is going to raise our price 135% at the start of the new year. I don't even understand how HOAs could like increase costs 135%. So I was livid when I opened that sweet potato.
I feel like that is the one thing I would... HOAs and sweet potatoes. We're done.
So what about your airball? What would you say your airball was for the week?
I think my airball for the week is generally social media. I know I have to be on social media, particularly if we're going to launch this podcast. But I just, get served up the same old content constantly. And I also just feel like it's driving such a divisiveness in our world. And I know this is like a huge topic. Everybody talks about it. It's not new. But I just feel particularly exhausted by it this week. And I don't know. There definitely has been some good moments, but mostly it's just been really bad. So I feel like I need a cleanse. Like I've heard that Gen Z, shout out to my Gen Z people out there. I feel like Gen Z is starting to get it, but a lot of them are addicted, like we are. I mean, we're freaking
for sure,
social media. But I don't know. I just like this is more of like a blanket airball that I'm just like really over you, social media. I'm over you so much, and I just want a break.
That's fine. You're entitled to your break. I also think like, okay, like buy social media, but like hello to listening to more podcasts.
That's a huge reason we're doing this. Sorry, I just got really excited about that. But yeah, like I do think being able to engage the senses, like your auditory sense, is such an opportunity. And it like I hope we can build deeper relationships with our listeners through this, because sometimes it feels really hard to build a relationship with anybody on social media, which is funny because that was the literal point of social media when it started, right? Remember when you had to sign up with your freaking college account?
Oh my God, yeah. That really took me back.
What is it? Lauren.israel@email.arizona.edu.
Oh, yeah.
What was yours?
I think it was like Jackie Jamelis at usc.edu.
I love that for us.
Yeah.
So I would just
really
say
boring.
like that was probably my airball of the week. I'm just feeling really exhausted by it, but sometimes it feels really hard to put my phone down.
Totally get it. And I have a current airball right now. My toe is cramping.
Oh, shit!
Yeah, and I'm struggling.
What do you do? How do you get
I don't know. I'm just pushing it back.
Do you need a heat pack?
I mean, maybe if it doesn't stop.
I don't know.
I might have
heat packs help with cramps?
I don't know, but it sounds good. I love heat.
I wish I had a hot tub. That's what I wish I had.
I wish I could just stick my foot in hot water.
Hot tubs can be so crusty, though.
Yeah.
I've been in a crusty hot tub once, and I was like, I gotta get the fuck out of here.
No, I won't touch a crusty hot tub. No,
I was in high school though, and I was like at a party, and I was like, oh boy, if I go in there, I may not come out.
Yeah, sick.
I did come out, thank God. But yeah, that was my airball for the week.
I got you.
What's your slam dunk?
My slam dunk would have to be the fact that we are getting this podcast off the ground.
Yes.
This has been a very short journey to getting here. I think we talked about this literally a month and a half ago, and to see where it has developed today and everything around it, our team, the setup here, and just all the progression. And I really have to credit you for the hard work and just relentlessness that you've had throughout this process.
Like a dog with a bone.
I mean, you've been incredible, and
Thanks,
I
Jack.
genuinely think that this podcast is going to be super special, and just, yeah, this was an absolute slam dunk for my week. Absolutely.
I love you. This
Love you too.
I totally believe though that this podcast wouldn't exist without you. So, and the magic of our relationship and our communities, and like I think that I'm just gonna plus one that slam dunk, because you know it feels very hard right now to build anything in just the noisy world we live in, and I'm in a really fortunate position to be able to make something, and this is what I want to make. This is what I want to do. I've been thinking a lot about legacies and, you know, what kind of impact can I have on the world? And I just feel like our voice can be that impact, even if it's for a small amount of people, which we hope more people listen. But, you know, if we can be a place where people genuinely love to come and listen, like that, there would be nothing more in this world that would bring me that much joy other than my family and my kids.
Right.
But, you know, like one day when Haley's old enough to listen to our podcast, like that would bring me so much joy that she could listen and learn from some of our experiences. So plus one to that, girl.
High five.
Fucking plus one to that.
Just like major slam dunking out here.
I had one other slam dunk I wanted to talk about that's like a little more pop culture-y, but you guys, I just watched all 3 Lord of the Rings.
I haven't watched a single one, so don't ask me about
Jackie,
shit.
One thing people don't know about me is I'm a hella nerd. I'm like super into sci-fi, super into fiction. It just like gets me, like it just like the like magical worlds. I'm so fucking into it. For some reason, I wasn't into Lord of the Rings when I was younger. I was more of like a Twilight girl.
Okay, I
know
like
that's
Twilight.
embarrassing, but
No, I like
I
Twilight.
loved me some Twilight.
Yeah.
Nick is like always jokes that I'm obsessed with like high school related shows. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, okay,
fine.
let's
Who
unpack
cares?
that.
Yeah.
Maybe there's like high school trauma I need to think through. I don't know, but. I mean, let's be real. Every high schooler has like trauma of going to high school in some capacity.
For sure.
But I'm sorry that those are the OGs. The OGs. You need to watch it. Also, shout out to Orlando Bloom as Legolas. He's a hall pass for me.
coming off.
Oh, you're taking a shoe off?
coming
Okay.
off.
But Legolas is a hall pass for me.
Okay.
He's a hot elf. He's a hot elf.
I need to look him up. I
He
feel like
is
I need to put a face to the name.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Such a fan. Also, I feel like J.R.R. Tolkien,
Yeah.
he could see the future. And I'm like, how do these people exist where they create this stuff where they just see the future? I'm just like, even the quotes are like so relatable to right now and what we're going through in our world. I'm just like, this dude had a magic 8-ball. Like this man. Anyway, shout out, like slam dunk of the week.
Lord of the Rings,
Loved listening to Lord of the Rings.
Yep. If
Okay.
you haven't watched, I suggest you watch.
I'm a big
You
fan of
sold me.
elves. I love an elf, a hot elf.
I love elves. I love their ears.
I'm a big fan. I think I might have to be an elf for Halloween next year.
You'd be a really cute elf.
Would I?
Yeah. I think I might be
that.
one too. Maybe we'll be twin elves.
Should we?
Yeah.
Should we go as characters from Lord of the Rings? But you have to watch it first, though.
Yeah, I gotta watch it.
You're gonna. There's a big commitment, though. To be honest, like 3-hour movies.
I'll make Carla sit through it with me.
I wonder what Carla would think about Lord of the
I
Rings.
don't know if she's ever watched them.
Oof.
I feel like her and I are very similar. Like we like the same shit. So she probably hasn't.
Are you guys like reality TV
Yeah.
booze?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We're like keeping up with the Kardashians, like guilty pleasures.
We should talk about guilty pleasures.
I mean, if you want to say keeping up with the Kardashians is a guilty pleasure, I
mean,
think
I
it
think
is,
it
but
is.
like I feel like most people would think that.
I mean, they've just been on for so long. At this point, it's like
I love them.
they're
so
like the
much.
Grey's Anatomy of reality TV.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just like, how many seasons do you have now?
Oh yeah,
They've
they
just
did.
figured it out.
Like hat off to Chris.
I mean, Chris, momager of all time. Okay, we have to talk about our guests that we're bringing on our literal first episode, which is insane. Like, I'm so excited about her.
I'm super excited as well.
I mean, I know you're going to talk about her sport career, which is unbelievable and exceptional. I'm so inspired by her sport career. I'm also unbelievable inspired by her academics and what she's done. She's an MBA, PhD. It is so freaking hard to even get an MBA. I don't even have an MBA. And I'm like, this woman is so multidimensional and has made such a huge impact on so many people. I feel incredibly honored to have her on our podcast.
Yeah, no, same. I think from a sporting lens, you know, she was drafted to the Sacramento Monarchs, which is very near and dear to my heart. I grew up 30 minutes from Sacramento, and we had season tickets the first year that the WNBA started. So
you saw her play?
I actually saw her play.
That's fucking sick.
Yeah,
That's
and
so cool.
she's just one
Sorry,
of the
I swear a lot.
one of the OG legends of the game. She didn't have a super long career in the WNBA, but she definitely left an impact when she did. I know she played for the Monarchs. She played for the team in Utah at the time, and then she finished her career with the Indiana Fever. So I just can't wait to pick her brain and just talk about all things, her career when she was playing and then, transitioning into life after sport as well.
Yeah, she just strikes me as someone who is so incredible at taking on any challenge and navigating her path and just her personality. She's just like one of those people that I feel like will lights up a room. Even just like from the, she's like amazing on TikTok.
Yeah.
I've watched her on YouTube videos. I haven't had the chance to meet her yet in person, but we will very soon. And she's just magnetic. And those are the type of people we want to have on this podcast that just like make you feel something.
Yeah, no, the interactions that I've had with her have been so much energy, so much lightness, so much fun. And it's just been a pleasure to be around her and get to know her a little bit and just hear her amazing story. And I can't wait to share it with our listeners.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
We want to welcome our first guest on our podcast, Dr. Chantel Tremitiere. I don't know why that's such a tongue twister for me, but we're just going to go with it.
Let's go with it.
Former WNBA star. This is really special for me because back in 1997, when the WNBA, came into this world, you were drafted to the Sacramento Monarchs. I'm from Stockton, California. That's a 30-minute drive down the street. My dad got us, me and my sister, season tickets. So I've actually seen you play. So this is such a full circle moment for me and just such a special opportunity to be able to have you on the podcast.
I appreciate it. I'm old, making me feel old already from jump, Jackie.
Sorry,
but, I'm happy to be here.
Might I also add, super inspired by your MBA and PhD, and you work at Nike and represent some pretty amazing work there too. So I just had to call that out.
Well,
because we're just huge fangirls.
Podcast is finished. 2 minutes in, we're done. It's easy.
Okay, so Doc, nobody can tell your story better than you. Can you just give us like the Cliff Notes version of your career, starting from how you picked up a basketball?
Adopted one of 15 kids, 9 boys.
Whoa, it's a lot of boys.
They needed someone to make a 10th for 5-on-5
Yeah.
basketball. I was that one, being the youngest girl. Picked it up, fell in love with it. Got a scholarship to Auburn. Played in a couple national championships. Coached at UMass, University of Texas.
Won how many national championships?
1-0 national championships. Played in 3 straight.
Played in
1-0.
3 straight. Okay.
Yeah, we were
right there.
Yeah. Then got drafted into the league. Played 4 years in the league. Played overseas during a couple of those years. Retired early. Retired at 30. And started my own business called Blank. And, after that, decided I wanted to go back to school. Went back to school, got my MBA, got my PhD. And then got an opportunity to go to Nike. And now work in brand at Nike. Some of the best basketball players in the world. And now I'm chilling with you guys on Click Clack. So there's my elevator pitch.
What was that like growing up with that many kids in the house?
Oh,
I have
amazing.
2 and I can barely keep my head above water. So your mom, incredible woman.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. 15 of us, 12 of us are adopted. We got whites, blacks, Koreans, Vietnamese. They call us United Nations. It was cool. You grow up not being prejudiced and we make fun of each other and things that we would say in the Tremitiere house, probably get fired for HR violations.
HR violations.
Can I ask a really quick question?
Come on.
Is your mom white?
So my birth mother was 16, white. Birth father was black, 19. But my adoptive parents are both white. The day I was born, my biological grandparents told my mother, you got to give the baby up for adoption. And so the day I was born, I was discriminated against because my grandmother wouldn't let my mother hold me. And so she never held me. And she said, look, if you go and try and visit her, we're going to change your hospitals. the worst part is when they were leaving the room, and she told me this obviously when she found me when I was 17, and my grandmother said, "Don't worry, one day you'll have another baby and forget all about this one." But my grandfather leaned down to her and said, by the way, there wasn't no way he was bringing that nigga child into this family. And so, like the day I was born, I was an X. And so for 5 days I was in the nursery, and my mom was like 3 doors down and she couldn't come see me. Oh. But on the last day, the nursery nurse snuck my mom to the nursery. And she told me, she would tell me this later on in my life, but she said that at that moment, I was the only baby in the nursery, and I was in my crib, and there was a big red X on the side of my crib. And so, the book that I wrote in my life would be called Baby X, The Search of Destiny, because my name, what they wanted to give me was Destiny Michelle. I don't look like a fucking Destiny Michelle. So, you think of X, right? X marks the spot. And when you look at X on a piece of paper, your teacher marks an X. That means it's wrong. And something you do is wrong. And so it was almost like the mark of me at birth was there was something wrong with this one. And so, unconsciously, maybe I knew that. And wanted to fill in that blank always. Like you were gonna remember me by something other than an X, or something other than being something wrong. Yeah. So I said we're gonna turn that X into a DR. Carl Malone is one of my best friends, and so I told Carl about that story, and he was like, "You got to write it," and he bought me a laptop. And I was like, "What the hell is this for?" Like, Carl,
what are you trying to say?
He's like, mailman, yeah. So I mean,
but click clack.
Yeah. But he said, write your story.
What an inspiration to people who come into the world and have hardship like that, and how you have just created a legacy is truly remarkable to me.
What does being a multi-dimensional woman mean for you?
That's a good question. I think nowadays, I think everyone is multi-dimensional. It's whether or not you know it, or more importantly, whether or not you can accept it, and that you understand those multiple dimensions. And for me, it's understanding that there are a lot of different sides of me, and there are a lot of layers to me. And I'm comfortable in each of those layers. I'm comfortable doing whatever. I'm comfortable being challenged, and just being authentically just in my skin. And the fact that my skin is multidimensional, it's just who I am. It is what it is.
I love that. Yeah. And I'd love to ask you a question about what was your biggest failure and what did you learn from that? Because I think it's really hard to talk about failure, but it's been one of the things in my career that I actually want to talk about because it's the only way we learn.
Right.
So what was your biggest failure?
When I was in high school, I was getting recruited by Tennessee, Louisiana. I was getting recruited by everyone, but I only wanted to go to Temple. And so Temple called me, and the assistant coach called me and said, we want to bring you down on an official visit. And I said, cool, let's roll. Let's rock with it. I'm going to Temple, and I'm going for free. It's an hour and a half away from home. I'm ready to go. And so that Saturday, I was going to go the next Saturday, but that Saturday we were playing in the district championship. And I went to work that morning at Hardee's. That's where I worked. The game wasn't until the evening. I worked in the morning. And a gentleman comes in Hardee's and says, "Hey, are you Chantel?" And, I'm a smart ass. I'm like, "Yeah, it's right here."
Is the name tag?
Yeah. And he says, "Your birth mother's outside." I said, "Excuse me?" "Yeah, my name's David Swingler. I'm married to your mother. She's outside."
Oh my God.
Whoa.
And I said, I'm 16 at the time, and senior in high school, and I'm like shook. And so I'm like, well, I can't go outside. And my nosy ass manager, she's like, "Oh, no, you can go outside. Take a break. Her, like, I'm-
She's like, oh, she was, hell.
Yeah, she was messy. She was messy.
Yeah.
So I'd never met her before, and because like 2 months earlier, she just called me on the phone out the blue one day and said, "Hey, my name's Debbie Swinger. I'm your mother." And so I hung up the phone, and so now she's outside. So I walked outside and met her. I met 2 of my half sisters, maybe for 5 minutes. I couldn't handle it, so I walked back inside, did it, and I was like, "Man, I got a game to play." And so played in that game. Probably had the worst game of my career. Just because my head just wasn't in it. My coach knew something was going on. I didn't tell them or anything. My mom was out of town. And so, but after the game, phone rings. My brother says, "Hey, Temple's on the line." And I'm like, you know what? Cool. We lost the district championship. I lost it on a charge at the end of the game. But you know what? I'm going to Temple next week for my visit. I'm ready to go. And Coach Gill says, "Hey, Doc, not Doc, he said Chantel, we saw you play, and I said, Coach, I'm looking forward to next week." And he said, "I think we're going to go in a different direction." And so at this time, I had already said no to all the other coaches. Like, all the other coaches. It was late. This was a late signing period. So now I'm like, wait a minute. What? And so we don't have a scholarship for you. And so now my mom wasn't there. My birth mother showed up that day, lost the championship, and now lost the scholarship. And now the only thing I could think of is, damn, like, I don't want my mom to pay for me to go to college. And so, long story short, my mom came home and she started sending my tape out to people. And she was an adoption. She was over an adoption agency, and a family that she had worked with knew Coach Joe Champy at Auburn. So she sent him a tape. They hit me back and said, "Hey, we'd like to come up and see you play." I didn't know where Auburn was. I didn't know they were number 2 team in the country. None of that. They came up and saw me play in 2 All-Star games, and then took me down on a visit. Fell in love with it. Went there. Ended up playing in 3 national championships. Wow. But our first year, in the first round of the playoffs, the first round of the tournament, we played Temple.
And you waxed them.
And we beat the shit out of them.
Fuck
We beat the shit out of them. But after the game, the head coach, Coach McDonald, came up to me and said, "Hey, Chantel," I got a little playing time as a freshman. We beat the hell out of them by 60. And she said, I've always wanted to know, I'm glad you got to Auburn or whatever. I've always wanted to know, why did you never come on your visit? And I said, "Coach, wait a minute. Coach Gill told me that you didn't want me." And she was like, "What?" And so I told her the story.
So was Gill the assistant?
Yeah.
Okay.
Damn. So we're in the middle of the court at Joel E. Memorial Coliseum in Auburn. We're at the mid-court. And she asked Coach Gill to come over and asks him, "Hey, did this happen, whatever?" And he said, "I just felt like, we were going to go in a different direction. And I didn't know if she, would work for the program." So I say that to say, the worst day of my life that I thought as a 16-year-old that I lost Temple. And yes, I lost the opportunity because I thought I was going to be an actress. Because I couldn't take any acting classes in Auburn because they were in the afternoon.
Oh,
but it turned out to be the best moment of my life because had I never gone to Auburn and played in 3 Final Fours, I would have never got a shot to the WNBA. Had I not got a shot to the WNBA, I wouldn't have been in a movie. I wouldn't have done this. I wouldn't be at Nike now. I wouldn't have been in the Win program. And so, everything just worked out right. But, we look like we go through failures in life, right? And think that we're never going to come out of them.
Yeah.
And I've been through some failures. I've been through a divorce. I've been through just some failures. But going into it knowing there's going to be a lesson in it.
Yeah.
It's either a win or a loss or a lesson or, you can always find something out of everything.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's it's your failure, but you still found the positive within the failure.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's a great way to look at your failures too. Because now that I'm going through my failures in my head, I'm
same. That's exactly what I was doing.
Wait a second, something good has come out of all
that's
this.
Right. And was it a failure or was it a lesson?
Literally a lesson.
That's it.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's dope. I love that.
And if you think about it, if you always look at failures as lessons, then you always know you'll learn something from it.
Yeah.
Because that's what lessons are made for, right? They're made for you to learn.
Yeah.
You answered that perfectly.
And I think what I'm trying to do in moments of what I perceive to be failure, me leaving corporate America, that was really hard for me. Because I was just I'm going to be a VP by the time I'm 40. That's my goal. which is kind of insane. Like, I was like, what does that actually look like or mean? But I always felt a deep passion to be a leader. Like, I really want to lead and help people grow. And again, that's why I think we're building this platform, because we can just do it in a different way. That doesn't have to be me climbing the corporate ladder, because I'm obviously not very good at it. But
She was amazing.
no, I mean, I don't know. But I do think that I have a really hard time sitting with hard feelings. I immediately just try and figure it out. So, like, quick follow-up is, how do you sit with that hard thing and process that? Because I do think what I'm trying to do right now is process and be okay being uncomfortable. And I think people are generally really bad at that.
You got to learn to lean into your discomfort.
Yeah.
And the lesson was, you wasn't supposed to be a VP in the corporate world.
Mm-hmm.
And you said you wanted to be a leader and help people. Like, you're leading a podcast. and you're literally going to help people sitting 2 feet away from them.
Yeah.
Or in their ears, because they're going to be listening to the podcast. Like, and so you're doing what you're supposed to do. You just may not have been doing it how you thought you were going to do it.
Totally.
And so that's the process. Like you said, how do you sit and process? You sit and process. You sit, you take the time, and you process. If you have to cry it out, do it. But just know there's something on the other end of it. And if you always find a positive in something, then, and you take that attitude into the processing and sitting and processing, then you know you'll always get up. If you know that there's nowhere to go, you're going to sit your ass in your bed. And you're going to be, one day is going to become 2 days. Now I'm processing it 3 days. And instead of sitting in process, I'm laying down. Now I'm in my covers. Instead of, you know what? Get your ass up. The day's going to start, and because at the end of the day, the day's going to end.
Yep.
So get up, do it again, and just learn the lesson.
Yeah.
The way that you have just rolled that out for us, and your views on just positivity and all of that, do you feel like that was something that you learned along the way, or do you feel like that was instilled in you at a really young age from your parents?
It's a great question.
Upbringing?
Look, Jackie, I was called a nigga on day one. So I experienced hate from day one. I experienced negativity from day one. I didn't know it obviously then.
Yeah.
But now that I know where my life has gone to, if I go from an X to a DR, right? If you go from literally nothing to now, you can't get any more than a doctorate. You can't get any more than play professionally in the league or whatever. I know yo, there's always something good. There's been times that I've been, thought negatively.
Yeah.
But them times, when I think about it now, they didn't get me anywhere.
Yeah.
When I went in with a negative attitude at Auburn and thought I was the shit, I got my ass chopped down.
Yeah.
When I went into a marriage and I thought that nothing in the world was gonna knock it, because I went in wrong with the wrong attitude, got knocked down. Things happen.
Yeah.
And I think it's, like I said, it's learning to sit and process and knowing that you gotta get up.
Yeah.
If you know you gotta get up, then you're gonna concentrate more on getting up than where you are.
I'm so inspired by your pro athlete. You got an MBA, you got a PhD. I mean, I have friends that are going through PhD programs, and it is years and years and years of their life. And I just want to know, what kept you going in that? How did you, what inspired you to go from these different roads?
Well, when I decided to go back to school, the Auburn women's basketball coach called me and said, look, we want you to come down and be a graduate assistant. And I was like, okay, what's that mean? And she's like, we'll pay for your graduate degree. I was like, okay.
Oh, damn. That's so
period.
awesome.
And so went to go get my MBA, and I hadn't been in school in a long time.
Yeah.
Over 2 decades. And so, there are 20-year-olds and 19-year-olds that are in my class, and
you're like, I could teach you all something?
Yeah, but
you don't know anything about life.
Right. But, my first semester was accounting, statistics, financial analysis. It was crazy. And so it was hard, but then it got harder. And I was thinking to myself, what's going on? I couldn't remember things. And we got to our finals of that first semester. And I went into my finance final. And one of the questions, you talk about IRR, which is internal rate of return, right? Anybody knows that. It's in finance, whatever. And I couldn't remember what it stood for. And I was like, something is not right. And I failed my finance final. I got a 0 on it. But anyways, make a long story short, I found out, so with 15 brothers and sisters, we have a group text. And so
What's your name on your group
That
text?
group
just us.
Yeah.
Literally us.
I love it.
Literally
That
us.
shit was probably popping off 24/7.
All the time.
Did you
Like,
did you
sometimes
have to
gotta-
have
yeah.
put the notifications
Come on
on
now.
silent?
Yeah, mute the notifications
Right.
sometimes. Totally get that.
Right. But one of my sisters had thyroid cancer. And so it was December 15th, 2014, and she hit up the group text and said, hey, y'all, just wanted to let you know, talk to the doctors. My thyroid cancer may have come back. And so I was like, man, dang. I was like, let me check my neck. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I felt something on my neck. And I was like, yo, hold up, what is this? So all night, I'm rubbing it, thinking it's going down, whatever. So the next day, we were playing Alabama, and I talked to one of the doctors before the game, and she said, don't worry about it, it's just a cyst, we'll watch it, whatever. And I couldn't stop rubbing it. For some reason, something was telling me, like, you got to talk to another doctor. So I talked to the Auburn team doctor after the game. And he touched my neck, and he goes, uh-oh. And I'm like, heck? Like, what?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. And I'm like, why are you telling me that?
alarming.
He was like, it might be your thyroid. And I said, okay. He said, what are you doing Monday? This was Saturday. What are you doing Monday? I'm like, yo, you just said uh-oh about my
Right.
neck. I'll be wherever you want me to be.
Yeah.
Whatever.
You're like, I'm coming.
Right. And so went in, got checked, and then they said, let's go in and do an ultrasound. And so I went in on that Wednesday, got an ultrasound, and there was a 4-centimeter tumor in my throat.
Oh my God.
And so they were like, we got to go get it. And so I went in on Friday. On that Friday, got it taken out. So now I'm on social media. Jackie, like, I'm talking trash. Like, hey, I had this thing in my throat. Ain't no big deal. They hadn't tested it, whether or not it was cancer or not. They said, we'll take it out and then we'll test it. Be good. So I go back 10 days later, and they tell me that it was cancerous. So I had to go back in and had to take out the rest of my thyroid. What happens when you lose your thyroid, when you have hypothyroidism, like it messes with your muscles and including your brain. And that's why I couldn't remember anything.
Damn.
And so all my professors were like, look, Chantel, if you want to take a couple semesters off or whatever, go fight this or whatever. And I'm like, nah, like, we're not going to do that. Like, if it's out, and I did my radiation, didn't have to go through chemo. And I said, it's out, so let's, I'm doing this. And they were going to put me on academic probation because I failed that class. And so it took down my GPA under a 3.0. You have to have a 3.0. So they were going to put me on probation. And I was like, I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to pay for my own MBA. And so I said, look, y'all, I'm fighting through this cancer. This is what happened. I promise you to this point, if you don't put me on probation, I won't get anything less than an A for the rest of my time here. And so they let me. And so I went through the rest of my MBA and got all A's. And then at that point, they said, have you ever considered getting your doctorate degree? And I was like, is it free? And they were like, well, yeah. And I'm like, I'm going to stay.
Hell yeah.
My mom was a doctor, and she had her PhD, and I wanted to be the first Tremitiere to have a PhD. And so
amazing.
I
That's
thought
so
that Dr.
amazing.
Tremitiere sounded sexy.
Yeah,
It's
does.
like
so I
it
was
sounds
like-
like a celebrity doctor
Dr.
name or
Yeah, I was
something.
like, yeah. So-
Future
yeah.
show. Future show.
So I went back to school and got that and tried to get it. I got my PhD in a year and a half, and I tried
A year and a half?
I tried to get it in time for my mom. My mom had cancer, and so
Fuck
she was
cancer,
fighting.
man.
Yeah,
What
she
kind of
was
cancer
fighting.
did she have?
She had lymphoma, and so she was fighting it. And I'll never forget on July 17th, 2017, I read for my dissertation. So that officially became the first day I became a doctor without walking across the stage. And 30 years earlier to that day, my mom got her degree.
Oh my God.
But
I
she
just got
passed.
chills.
Passed in April of that year, so she didn't get to see me walk across the stage. But she was always good in academics, and she said to all the kids, like, 2 things you're gonna do in my house is you're gonna graduate from high school and you're gonna swim. You're gonna learn how to swim because I'm not watching your asses in the bathroom.
I can relate to that so deeply as a parent. Every time my kids are around water, I'm like, and now it is so hard to get kids swim lessons. It's
Wait,
wild.
That's hella funny because when I learned how to swim, my mom literally used to throw me and my sister in the water and just say, figure it out.
What?
Yeah,
You said your mom was like the calm one of the two.
She's calm, but she was tough. She was also
Yeah.
very tough. She's a breast cancer survivor,
Okay.
2-time breast cancer survivor.
Yeah.
But,
2-time? Damn,
yeah,
Jack.
and ovarian cancer survivor. But
Fuck cancer.
yeah.
Fuck cancer.
Right.
But anyway, she used to just throw John and I in the pool and just be like, figure it out. And we did.
Really? When I was going through the cancer surgery, I mean the radiation, so I had to be 10 days before I got radiation, which I couldn't have any medicine or no thyroid medicine or anything. So I became so lethargic that if I would have to say Jackie, can you do me a favor? Can you please grab me that glass right there?
Yeah.
And so, y'all, there was a time when I felt it was January 14th 2015, and I felt so tired that I didn't want to live anymore.
Oh my God.
I was laying upstairs and I was like, y'all, I don't want to do this anymore. And I had my gun that was near me. And so I pulled over, I had my gun, I pulled it to me, and I was like, y'all, it was like my body, my brain was saying you're not gonna do this, but my body was so tired, it was so drained, and I went to pick it up and I was like, yo, I'm out, and I forgot that I didn't have the clip in it, and the clip was downstairs in my car, but I was so tired that I was like, I can't even go downstairs and get this clip.
Oh
And so I was so glad that obviously I worked through it. I mean, I'm here, but yeah, cancer, wow, it ain't no joke. It almost came to a point where I was like, I don't do this anymore. But I was literally too tired to go get the bullets in the gun.
Oh my
Thank goodness for being too tired.
Man,
Yeah, seriously.
man. Sorry.
No, I
We
mean,
done.
but I mean,
for what?
it's just thinking about how you spend every minute
Yep.
and seeing the energy that you bring and just already how you've inspired us. It's such a motivation to think when you have your health, it is the most important thing aside from your family.
100%.
And you never know what tomorrow's going to bring. And we all get in our little rat race silos and we just don't think, and it's a huge wake up call.
That's right.
To just be whoa.
To know your own mortality is it can be scary, but it's enlightening, because now that goes to show when he's ready for you, he'll take you. You ain't got to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Every
I'm
minute.
glad I didn't. I wouldn't be on.
Yeah, it's true.
Gotta make that hyphen count.
Can you tell us a little bit and talk a little bit about how it was for you being gay in the WNBA in the 90s?
It was scary at first because I didn't want anybody to know. When I had my first little girlfriend, when we were inside my crib, I felt free. But I felt when I went out, we can't. She wanted to hold hands. I didn't. I was so worried about what people were thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people felt like that. Had I known then how comfortable I would be with it now, we would have held hands.
Right.
I may have asked a girl to the prom.
Right.
In high school.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't know. But certainly different than where it is today.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable being me regardless. But yeah, it was tough back then, wasn't it?
So, were a majority of your teammates also gay women?
No.
Interesting.
Only 2 were
Okay.
that I knew of. I mean, but then remember back then, for half a season, they didn't know about me,
Yeah.
and so some I may not even know about them. I may still not know.
Yeah.
Just because it wasn't cool then. At that point, it was the WNBA, and if you weren't Rebecca Lobo or Lisa Leslie, who were straight,
Mm-hmm.
then they weren't talking about you anyways.
Yeah.
So,
Interesting.
yeah, we really didn't talk about that then.
It's crazy how times have changed because the majority of our league is out and gay.
Right.
And it's a very small percentage that really aren't.
Exactly.
So I guess when you did tell your teammates and that was out there and known, how was like your comfortability with like within the team and like your teammates towards you?
It was just who they are. We were trying to win basketball games.
Yeah.
They didn't care who you went home with. They cared who you were when you got to the gym.
Facts.
And you know, that's how it should always be.
Absolutely.
Yeah, love that. So Doc, as someone who was adopted, what are your philanthropic endeavors?
You know, I always have an affinity towards adoption. My mom and dad, like, they owned an adoption agency. And so you can say, I guess they took their work home with them in bringing home 12 adopted kids. But my mom placed in her life, rest in peace, but in her life, she placed 3,500 kids into homes. Wow. And so, you know, if anything I can do through, you know, my platform or my voice can help, you know, a child find their birth parents or be in a good home, right? You know, there's people out there that are begging to be parents. You know, you have some people out there that don't know how to be parents or don't want to be parents, but know how to have kids. But there's people out there that are begging to be parents, and there's so many needy kids out there that, you know, need homes, wish for homes. I couldn't imagine right now growing up in a foster home where, you know, at any point in time you'd have to leave because you have to go to another foster home. So
I can't even imagine.
Right, and so, you know, I was one of the lucky ones, not only in being adopted, but finding my birth parents found me. You know, I know them, I have a relationship with them, but, you know, my mom was a saint, and, you know, so anything I can do to kind of have her legacy live through me, I'm going to do that.
So you don't have kids, right?
Hell no.
And that's never been like something that you wanted just because of what your parents embedded?
Well, yeah, no, I think, you know, I had wanted to adopt at some point. I wanted my mom to know that at least one of her kids adopted. But just didn't get around to it. But I have 22 nieces and nephews.
Wow.
And
so that's your other nickname is Auntie.
Yep. Yeah. That's Auntie, you know, from the Tremitiere family. So, and then, you know, I have 980,000 nieces and nephews on TikTok. So that's good enough for me. And, you know, I'll just do that. But I can send every single one of them home.
Wait, so how does Christmas look for your family? Like, how do you gift 28 nieces and nephews?
22.
You should just give them words of wisdom.
Some of them are older, so you don't get no presents. The 4-year-olds, the 10-year-olds, you know, you guys get presents. I love giving presents. I love seeing little kids' faces when they get presents. You know, Christmas was always a big deal for us. You know, my mom would, on December 26th, she would start shopping for the next year.
Oh my God.
And she would get presents for all of us. Mom. Yeah, she would get presents for all of us. We would have to go downstairs on Christmas morning. We would take a picture on the stairs, all the kids, took it every year, sang happy birthday to Jesus. Then she opened up like doors like these, and it was a big, huge room, and all 15 kids had their pile of gifts.
Wow.
And we would start from the oldest. You would open one gift, then the next kid, and we would go all around. And it would take 8-9 hours because we would have like 20 gifts apiece. And then after that, we would go and get our stockings. Yeah. And whether it's toothpaste or a chapstick or a toothbrush, my mom wrapped every single individual present for 15 kids.
I'm just like imagining this amazing woman.
Yeah. And so it's another thing. Like, I really had a mom who, they say, you know how they say you can't choose your family. Right, but you can, because she did.
Yeah,
and if she can do what she did, you know, my parents got divorced when I was 16, and we all went and lived with our mom. Love my dad, but if a woman who chose you can parent you and love you, you know, more than anything in the world, you better give some of that love back to the world. And so that's what I try to do every day.
Well, what I can say is, as a parent, it is one of the hardest jobs, but also most fulfilling jobs in the world. But what I can say is community, it takes a village to raise children. And so I consider my community extensions of parenthood for my kids, and to surround them with people that will help them also grow in their lives. So I've like, you're obviously making a huge impact on all your your immediate nieces and nephews,
Yeah,
but then your
Tremitiere
1
nieces.
million nieces and nephews on TikTok. You said something about how kids don't, it's like they feel really entitled today. And, you know, it's like we grew up in the era of like everybody gets a trophy. Right. And like the way you're describing your ingenuity, your passion, your drive, you're like, I'm going to get an A no matter what. Like, just believe in me. Like, how do you think that exists anymore? Like, I'd love to get your point of view, because you've got multi-generations of women here, and we want to talk to generations of women younger. It's like, how do we hone that? How do we get people to take a risk and try hard?
You know what I've learned, like, and I'm old. Like, I mean,
age is just a freaking number.
Old, right? But like, the world really doesn't give a shit about you. Mm-hmm. Like, it really doesn't. The world as a whole. Mm-hmm. You have people in the world that love you, that take care of you, do anything in the world. But, you know, when you die, right, the world is going to go on. Like, Absolutely. This world is not going to stop rotating just because Absolutely. You're gone. But I think in the world of social media, you know, kids nowadays want 30 seconds of gratification. Mm-hmm. And they can scroll and they don't have to look at the news because they can find it on Twitter and social media. And I find, like, you know, there's all those filters and everything on social media.
There's filters.
Right. And I find that nowadays, like, kids are using filters on their whole lives. And if they don't get what they want and they don't get what they feel like they deserve, even though they hadn't earned it or done anything for it, then, you know, they pout and then they, you know, do whatever. But I tell kids, like, all the time, like, one thing that's for sure is, like, the world doesn't revolve around you. Mm-hmm. Right. And I think that if there's a way that we can tell the younger generation in a way that they understand it, like, but you can go out and get yours. You can literally do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But you want to work for it.
Yeah.
I am humbled and honored to have been asked to come on and spend some time with you all. But yeah, I think it's about paying it forward and you don't want to get to the other side of the hill and regret anything. So what you guys are doing is incredible. So I support you.
Well, we're super grateful, and I feel like I need like a day to just like listen to everything and process all of it because I feel like we're gonna grow so much from this too. Yeah. Like, we never thought we would do this, and then we laughed and joked about it a year ago. I was like, we're kind of funny together. We got something. We got chemistry. Yeah. And then we like joked about it, and then all of a sudden here we are. Yeah. It's like, you know, it's like,
y'all gotta come join me on the bus at some point.
Oh my God. Yes.
If you or someone you know is struggling with suicidal thoughts or emotional distress, help is available. Please reach out to a mental health professional, a helpline, or a support network. Your life matters. The 988 Lifeline is available 24/7, 365, and your conversations are free and confidential. Call, text, or chat 988 Lifeline.